Hello, I hope this video finds you well. Tonight is night 14 of my nightly ritual of recording one Codingbat solution. Now I'll avoid all the pre-ramble and just dive right in. Alright, tonight we're going to look at front times, which is warm up 2, and we're looking specifically right now at the Python solution. Given a string and a non-negative int n, we'll say that the front of the string is the first 3 chars, or whatever is there. If the string is less than 3, return n copies of the front. So this is very similar to the previous question called string times, where we had to duplicate the string n times. So we're going to use a loop to do that duplication again, but before we do the loop, we actually have to pull out the first 3 characters. So before I actually do this correctly, I'm just going to add a couple comments in here. If I can type, there we go. So first thing I'm going to do is pull out first 3 char, and then I'm going to use a loop to string construct first 3 char n times. Now I want to highlight something specifically to Python here, because this is really important that you understand this is a Python piece, and so when you translate to Java you don't run into a problem. If I do this, I'm just going to return str, and I'm going to grab the first 3 characters. Right? So we just use substring to go from 0 to 3, remember inclusive, exclusive. And notice in this case, let's just zoom out 1, there we go. Notice in this case, it doesn't actually crash. So it's not correct, but it doesn't crash, and that's really important. And even in this case where the length is 2 and I try to pull out the first 3 characters, it doesn't crash. And that's because Python's really forgiving with substring, and if you go past the end of the string, it just kind of figures it out. Most languages aren't like that. So what I would recommend in this case is, even though you don't have to do this, is I'm going to say, make an if statement here and say if the length of str is less than 3, then what we're going to do is we're going to make some variable called front. If the string of str is less than 3, we're going to say the front is equal to just whatever's in the str. Otherwise, we're going to put an else here, we're going to say front is equal to str and the first 3 characters. Now again, this is going to have no impact on the actual problem. And if we just come down here and we say return front, this will have no impact on the problem. Oops. Totally had bracket mix up there. Fix that up. It has no impact, but what's really important here is that if you were working in another language, you wouldn't run into index at bounds problems. Alright, so now we need to use a loop to string construct this n times. So I'm going to make a new string, and I'm going to call it result, and we're going to make it an empty string, and now I want to run a loop that runs n times. So we're going to use a for I in range loop, so I'm going to say for I in range, and I'm going to go 0, comma, n, comma 1. And the way this works is this is where our counter is going to start. This is going to say the loop's going to continue as long as I is less than n, and this is what our change is. And again, I said this last night, that for I in range loops they're a little funny, and they kind of been simplified to, I don't know why Python's done it this way. I really like loops in Java a lot more, but you have to know that if you're incrementing up, it's the inequality will be checking if I is less than n. If you increment down, it's going to be checking if I is greater than n. There's some assumptions you have to know. Also, there's a lot of shorthand notation for loops, which I'm not going to get into, and I tend to avoid with beginning programmers. Alright, so now we're just going to string construct this. So we're going to say result is equal to result plus front, and then I'm going to return the result. And I hit go, and there it is. Now, we can of course do this with one line because this is Python, and Python is really fun for this. So I'm just going to comment with all of this, not using Java notation. It's always fun to try and do these in one line if we can. And what we're going to do is we're going to say return, and we're going to take advantage of 2 things. We're going to take advantage of the fact that in Python, if I try and access a substring that goes beyond the indexes, it doesn't crash. And then I'm going to use that multiplication process, because when I multiply a string by an integer, it just duplicates the string that many times. And I hit go, and there it is. So I hope this video helped, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day.